individual has their internal struggles they would rather keep to themselves away from the scrutiny of others. Meet Chebet, not her real name, who seems okay from the outside, but she carries with her a painful story. It was a day like any other when she boarded a motorbike to go to work, when the motorcyclist diverted to what he termed a shorter route.
Akaniambia tunaenda na hiyo ndo tufike haraka. Akasema sasa ni mapema na mtu hata penye ananipeleka haifai, but ile nikamwamini, nikaona amesema pia anaenda Kare, acha niende anifikishe haraka kwa sababu hata nilikuwa nimechelewa.
That ride will change her life forever.
Sasa kwa good luck ikasimama. Baada sasa ile kusimama akanigonga. So kuanguka ndo akashuka kwa pikipiki akakuja akanizamuta. Ndo akanitoa trouser. Akaanza kunirape.
She felt like the world had conspired against her and she wept for days on end.
So like hakuna mtu nimeingizwa hapo ndani, sasa nikakosa advice nitafanya nini. Kwa familia yetu hakuna mtu anakuwa anajua. So nilikuwa nashinda tu kwa nyumba analia, nasema sasa kutakuwaje.
She opted for counseling.
Na sasa nilikuja hiyo first session, niliona like kuna wasichana wengine, so nikakuwa like kumbe si mimi peke yangu, labda ningekaa kwa nyumba ningeumia peke yangu.
At the recovery center, we met two more women who have also suffered from domestic violence. As mothers and wives, they persevered abuses from their spouses for a long time.
Mi kufika saa 4, it's like aliona nimekuja kama saa 8 usiku ama sijui ni nini. Akaanza kunipiga, kanipiga. Watoto wamelala, anawaambia wasijaribu kuongea.
For Elizabeth Wambui, her love story turned into a nightmare when she got pregnant.
I just wanted a yes or no answer. You promised to take me for the baby we are expecting shopping. Are we going so that I can get ready? But he snapped off and started beating me up.
She wanted to save her marriage, but in her silence, it would seem she was digging her own grave.
At a point where now he takes a metal and he's strangling me. He wants to kill me. And he's swearing curses and swearing how he will kill me and kill the children.
Counseling for both women was a saving grace that brought them peace and healing. They want other women to break the silence on gender-based violence.
Ifanywa kitu kwa hiyo, inafaa ujitokeze. Kwa sababu mimi sikuwa na courage ya kukuja hivi.
Msivumilie, watu wengi sana wanakufa. Wanauliwa juu ya tijina nimeolewa. Siwezi toka kwa mume wangu.
Stop keeping quiet, because keeping quiet first of all is the enabling factor for these people.
Fina Nyakwara, case manager from the Gender Violence Recovery Center, attributed most gender-based violence in Kenya to patriarchal culture.
And because again, when you look on the culture and the stereotyping in the society, sometimes it drags the elimination of gender-based violence in Kenya actually. But it just calls for so many individuals or partners just to work towards elimination.
Abed Sadi, a safety consultant, calling for a collective responsibility to eliminate gender-based violence.
It's not an individual responsibility. It's a responsibility of the state that those women works on or operate in. It's the responsibility of the organizations on general and the organizations that are working on the women issue. So it's not only the responsibility of the woman only to protect herself, but it is related to the society.
The gender-based violence hotline 1195 works in partnership with the Ministry of Public Service and Gender to help victims get fast assistance to healthcare assistance.
Nowhere in the world is a woman safe from violence. The need to unite and invest in the key preventive measures will go a long way to eliminate violence against women.
Good morning and welcome to News Check. On this fateful day, this is the conversation, the story that has just been aired and done by my very colleague, that is Pauline, has been discussing what has been concern to to not just the nation, but to civil societies, government institutions, and we'll be speaking to some of them this morning in regards to the increase of femicide cases that have been witnessed. But before we do start our conversation, I would like to give you a context of what has been happening since the last 5 years or so, which we'll be sharing with you, and of course in form of graphics of how many women we have lost in our country since back in 2019. Once I do have those graphics, we'll be sharing with you. And of course, joining me this morning on the other side of the studio will be Dr. Joyce M. Mutinda, the chairperson of the National Gender Equality Commission, that is NGEC, and of course Dennis Otieno, the senior legal counsel at FIDE Kenya, and also we'll be having Senator Tabitha Mutinda, and finally we'll be having Jerry, the CEO of Usikimia, who will be joining us in just a few. But let me start with Senator, given that this has been something has been witnessed in the country since the start of January 2024. Senator, good morning and welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning. We start on that note. Let me get your opening remarks of what we have been witnessing in the country for the last few weeks.
Thank you for having us this great morning. And let me start by giving my condolences still again to the families of the beloved ones who lost the beautiful young girls. It's sad, and we still give our condolences to these great families and say that nobody deserves to die in terms of being murdered with what we've been able to see. The Constitution is very clear in terms Chapter 27 in regards to human rights. Everybody deserves equal protection. Nobody is above the law, you know. And the government has put measures. You look at the police stations, we have the gender desk that are in place, and what has been happening is been quite, you know, taken time and has been repeating so much of itself. And as leaders, then we go back and then start asking, what is the root cause? A step backwards and asking, why are we having these cases so rampant at this particular time in the year 2024? They have increased so much, and it is really worrying, because looking at the young generation, and especially the female child, you know, the girl child, you know, it's quite sad. And as leaders, we really condemn it with the strongest terms possible. And then we asked, did it have to get to the media reporting the issue of the murderer called Matara, because to me he's a murderer, with the incidents of the young beautiful girl? Then we get to a point, then we are trying to further into the analysis of all this happening. It's quite very, very sad. But I'm very happy, and I really want to appreciate the young girls who have really come out and spoken and told their stories, because it is then through that, then we get to understand more, and also as leaders, as parents, we get to ask ourselves, what is the root cause? Because when our kids get up and it ends up becoming a crime scene, as parents and leaders, we step back and ask ourselves. There's so many questions that I believe we are going to discuss this morning.
Okay, Senator, let me toss it over to Daktari. Daktari, you've just issued a statement last week as the National Gender Equality Commission, that is NGEC. You have been taken aback with the recent incidences. The question will be, from where you sit, Daktari, this is not the first time we have witnessed this in the country. What could be the root causes of such incidences?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us. And again, also thank you for bringing this particular question up. Allow me just to refer the Kenyans to Chapter 4 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010.
Yes.
It is a chapter about rights. And one of the rights that cannot be taken from anyone is the right to life. If you look at Article 26, Sub-Article 1, every person has a right to life. And in that same article, Sub-Article 3, it says, if you allow me to read verbatim, a person shall not be deprived of life intentionally, and I want to underline the word intentionally, except to the extent authorized by this Constitution or other written law. Now, what we have witnessed is life being taken intentionally. And unfortunately, it is being taken for the females. This comes soon after we had the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence from the 25th of November 2023 all the way up to 10th December. And we did quite a number of activities telling everybody we have seen intimate partners are the persons who are actually inflicting this. And as I speak to you, my heart bleeds. Because other than the two that we are mentioning in some of these Airbnb, we have somebody who just killed his wife, girlfriend in the house, and the person walks away. You put a question to me, what is the root cause of this? And in my own small way, I think we have three things that we need to look at. And one is to the girl child. As a mother and a grandmother and a mother-in-law, I want to educate all the girls in this country and the women. If it comes to your intimate partner wanting to hit at you, please walk away. Preserve your life. The country is duty-bound to preserve your life. But you cannot stand there and say, since the Constitution protects me, I'll stand here and I'll be alive. So I just urge our girls to walk away. Because one of the root causes is staying in that toxic atmosphere. Think of those who go to the little places they call Airbnb or in hotels. And you are meeting somebody you have not met before. I would urge our girls, if you are meeting that person, that nice person you met online, kindly meet them in an open place. A place where if they hit at you, you'll be protected by the environment. Don't go to a corner where this person has an advantage over you. Because that is what has been happening. The other one seems to be to the side of parents like me. Have we done our parenting properly? Is this the generation that has been brought up by house helps that they refer to as auntie? Have we sat our girls down and talked to them? Have we sat our boys down and talked to them? Because if the boy child knows that this is my sister, I have to take care of them, there is law against it, I'm sure this will not be happening. So there are quite a number of root causes that I see. And the last of them being what we call poverty. Because in some of the cases you can see somebody really wanted to make some little money because they did not have that. But if we had inclusion, if we don't discriminate women in places of work, they get job, they get empowered, I don't think we'll have this situation. So we must go to the bigger story where we are going to have inclusion of everybody and equal access to, if I may say, not only to jobs, but also to businesses. Let me leave it at there for now. For now, we'll leave it at there. But before I engage Dennis, of course, he's from FIDA, and also the Federation of Women, the Federation, which is FIDA, has also issued a statement in regards to this particular matter. You even gave us statistics of last year that we even lost 10 women in a similar fashion in this particular case. And of course, if you're just joining us, dear viewers, we're discussing the alarming rate of these femicide cases that have been witnessed in the country. And momentarily we'll be sharing with you graphics for the last 4 years, since back in 2019, what we have witnessed and how many people we have been able to lose in regards to the femicide cases that we have witnessed. I can see already the reactions being created online, of course, under the hashtag of Shut Down Kenya. Of course, peaceful processions will be held from the 27th. Usikimia, FIDA, and other women rights organizations will be leading, and other civil societies will be leading this particular venture, and we do have them here in our studios. Once again, let me get to introduce our guest this morning. We do have Dr. Joyce M. Mutinda, the chairperson of the National Gender Equality Commission, which is NGEC. We also do have Dennis Otieno, senior legal counsel at FIDA Kenya. And finally, we do have a legislative in the House, that is Senator Tabitha Mutinda, to talk about some of these legislative proposals, if they might come up at the end of the day, given that Parliament
employment is set to resume next month. Let me head over now to Dennis. Dennis, good morning and welcome to the show. FIDA just recently issued a statement in regards to this particular matter. As Kenyans, from where you sit, should we be worried?
Okay, thank you so much, Abdiaziz. The most unfortunate thing we've witnessed as 2024 has begun is the issue of femicide. You ask, as Kenyans, should we be worried? Indeed we should. We should be really worried because of what we're seeing as is becoming a trend. It's like an opportunistic kind of crime that is being utilized by perpetrators who seek out and find out maybe
Senator, we're talking about these issues that have been witnessed. Dr. was just putting it correctly in just Airbnb and lodges, and we'll be back with that particular conversation. I do understand that we need to take a short commercial break. We need to pay some bills, but that is the conversation. Carry this particular conversation both on and offline. It is, of course, alarming to many, and we are concerned as a country and as a nation of these particular cases. The hashtag is newscheck at Abdiaziz Hashim 1 at KBC Channel 1. Don't go too far. We'll be back with this conversation.
Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with your music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
Those graphics, we're back on air. This is News Check. Those graphics have been covered extensively, and of course there are various sources who have been able to give us some of those graphics. We start off what femicide represented to this particular country. It represented the most extreme form of violence against women. According to a UN report, 38.5% of girls and women aged between 15 to 49 in Kenya have experienced any form of physical violence at least once in their lifetime. That is the general definition of what femicide is to not just the country but to the extensive part of the globe. Now, since 2019, at least 85 women have been killed countrywide. Now, some of the victims range from 4 years to 70 years. The majority of the victim, and which we have witnessed for the last few years, is between 21 and 30 years at the prime of their life. Now, 49% of the victims were killed by either their boyfriends, husbands and former lovers, and 51% were killed by criminal gangs and unknown people. Now that is from the source, which is the Code for Africa. Let's head over to a period where we exhibited COVID-19 and the restrictions that came with the quarantine. Now, former Gender Cabinet Secretary, that is Margaret Kobia, reported that cases of gender-based violence such as physical assault and defilement had increased by 92% during the quarantine. This was the highest we have ever experienced in the country, and it was exacerbated by the measures undertaken during the COVID-19 year. Now, to 2021, at least there were some leeway, and of course there was a little bit of the measures being pulled out by the government, but 58 femicides were reported between the month of January all the way to October. Now, of the murders, 21 were adult, while unfortunately 27 were children. Now, to the next year where we experienced the general election, 10 cases of femicides have been reported in the media, with many more cases remaining unreported. Now, this source was from the Federation of Women Lawyers in Kenya, that is FIDA, and of course we do have a representative who is Dennis here in the house. This is the latest figure that FIDA gave us through the press briefing they issued in their headquarters. Now, in the year 2023, this is just but 2 cases that have been reported in the media, but there are many more. Now, the cases of femicide already reported extensively is that of Starlet Wahu Mwangi, the 26-year-old whose lifeless body was found in an Airbnb in South B, Nairobi County. Now, she was last seen getting into the Airbnb on January 3rd at night. Now, a postmortem examination of the body showed she was strangled. Now, another case that is also we're keenly following, even us as a media house, is in regards to Rita Waini Mwendo in Roysambu, the 20-year-old woman who is also a student of the Jomo Kenyatta International University of Agriculture and Technology. Now, Mwendo's dismembered body was discovered at a residential apartment. Those are the grim statistics we do have from since 2019 till today. Of course, there are many more unreported cases. Now, it is, of course, extensively to the globe itself. Now, an average of 137 women across the world are killed by a partner or a family member daily. Now, to this report, an average of 5 women every 60 minutes, of course, exhibit a form or they experience any forms of sexual gender-based violence. Now, the report also showed that 87,000 women were killed internationally in 2017. 30,000 of these killings were at the hands of their current or former partners. This is from the United Nations Drugs and Crime report that they published back in 2017, extensively covering all the way to 2023. Now, to some of the regulations that the government have issued of late so that they can ensure that these cases at least are nabbed in the back is withholding of identification documents for Airbnb visitors temporarily, and of course ensuring CCTV and security cameras are in a proper working condition. And of course this we'll be discussing in the second hour with different sets of our guests. And of course we'll do have private security firms here with us. We'll do also have an Airbnb representative. But in the first hour we do have a critical sector players from the National Gender Equality Commission, that is NGEC, a senior legal counsel from FIDA Kenya, and of course we do have a legislator in the House who is Senator Tabitha Mutinda. Before we went for a short commercial break, I was supposed to tap it to Dennis Otieno. Dennis, welcome once more, and we do apologize for that particular glitch. But FIDA issued a statement just last week. And of course, some of those 10 cases that we've seen through our graphics were reported by none other than FIDA Kenya. I asked you this particular question: should we be worried as Kenyans?
Thank you so much, Abdiaziz. First of all, we sincerely pass our sincere condolences to the families of the victims across the nation, because we know that the few cases that we've been able to see have been reported, but there are many more that are unreported that are always coming up every other day. You asked me a good question: should we be worried? And I had answered earlier that indeed we should be worried, because what we are having there, the statistics that we've just shared even with the general public, are not wholesome statistics. By this I mean that those are of the reported cases, those are known cases. Every other day, even if you walk into these law courts, the high courts actually, you've just seen recently that our very honorable Chief Justice has had a conversation with the President to be able to increase the number of judges. An increase of the number of judges is just showing you the amount of cases that are coming in through the court system, the judicial platform. And not all these cases are usually reported even on the media. If you walk into the high courts and see cases with regards to murder, cases that are femicide based, you won't see all of them being reported. It's only highlights that will be reported. This actually shows that there's a very, very worrying trend, and awareness creation was very critical. That is why, in fact, the Federation of Women Lawyers, that is known as FIDA Kenya, engaged in the public outcry, gave a press statement, because that was the only fastest way that the nation would actually come to terms with the fact that there is a growing concern. There is a growing concern with relations to femicide, that there are perpetrators out there who are actually taking advantage of young women. As you have reportedly saw, that the ages most affected are between 21 to 30. That is the youth, that is the young women. And these perpetrators, even if you see the John Matara, if you see the Nigerians even from their build, you would see that they are of an older set, an older build. So that you would see that they are ranging from the ages of perhaps 30, 35 if you are to average it. And then you would realize that with this kind of trend that is happening in the country, that our young ladies are being taken advantage of. They're entering into society, they're just coming maybe fresh from high school, entering campus, and entering through the campus chain, other people are actually taking advantage of them. We had a very good conversation, in fact, with various campus leaders, wherein we were able to pick out a number of issues and concerns, and we were asking them. We are seeing a particular trend that young women, you've even reported from 2019, 2020, I believe just 2023, that is last year, we've had this young man who was arraigned in court in 2019 for having brutally taken the life of Ivy Wangeshi, who was a medical student in Eldoret. And he has just been the judgment was just read last year in the year 2023. And you can see that if that case was being followed for the entire 4 years, amongst other cases, you wouldn't have had enough time to capture each and every case. As FIDA, we have 3 offices around the country, and each and every time we are capturing a lot of data from the different sets of the counties. Like we have an office in Nairobi, we have another one in Mombasa, and another one in Kisumu. And the data loads that are streaming in, and the reason even we were reaching out to the families is because, one, the case does not end by the perpetrator being caught. There is this journey of 4 years. This journey of 4 years. We have our advocates who assist in watching brief. We have our in-house counselors and even counselors who assist us in enabling psychosocial support, and the kind of tales that these families will tell you of what they found. For instance, this very recent case where it's 2 Nigerians who were arrested for brutally mutilating the body of the young girl.
Linked. It has not been proved yet.
It has not been. It has not been proved. Thank you so much for that clarification. It's still an allegation, and they are still suspects. But if you are the family members who came and found that this was your daughter, sister, wife or even a friend, if you found the body in that state, the trauma that would have been left even to you, let alone the members of the public in that particular building, who woke up in the morning, somebody waking up at 6 to rush to work, that is the sight they meet first. That is the reason for the outcry.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Let me head over to Senator. Senator, given that you're a youth leader yourself, you have seen majority of these cases are people who are losing their lives at the prime of their life. And aside from the contributing factors that have been attributed to such incidences, like we have witnessed, one is poverty, other one is even to the extent, which is very brutal and gruesome, organ harvesting of some of these young girls. And of course, some of them are men as well. Is there more that meets the eye when it comes to such incidences?
Abdi, let me start by appreciating that what Dennis has talked about in regards to what the president did the other day after the dialogue with the CJ Kome. And you see from where we see the opposition was kind of bringing a narrative of, I mean, this should not be happening, but now we have results in terms of increasing the judiciary so as to have deliverable and timely services to the Kenyans because of the rampant cases that are in place and they need to be, you know, sorted out. Now, back to the issue of these causes. One, yes, poverty is one of the greatest reasons. But the other top of the greatest reason is the mental health issue. Yes. There is a big crisis as far as the issue of mental health is concerned. If you look at the data that you've been able to share, husbands, you know, 200 and around over 200, boyfriends over 100, friends, ex-husbands. These are people that we've related with, you know. Because I'm a representative of the people, and as a woman, I talk on behalf and say, we've related with them nicely and over a couple of duration. We are not even strangers, and this happens in terms of the killings that are taking place. What is the cost of all this, you know? And you go back to away from even the poverty issue. When a husband and a wife have stayed for the longest, we've seen these cases, these domestic violence cases, and they end up, you know, doing the worst and the least that is expected. And I would say it's the high time that as families, as married couples, as people who are also dating and relating, it's good to really increase the levels of communication, because it's until you speak out, it's until you talk, it's until we communicate, then we can be able to know then what is the problem, because the solution is not killing. But Abdi, allow me to say as it is this morning, femicide today, femicide is when women are killed, and especially by people who know them. But who's the killer? Abdi, the killer is the man gender. So I want to say, men, stop killing our girls. Men, stop killing our sisters.
But
stop
not
killing
all of us,
our
Senator.
women. Of course, not all of them. Of course, not all of them. But for us to call it femicide, as the media has also called it femicide correctly, but we need to agree that then it is the male gender that is, you know, doing what it's doing. Then we go back then, why do they have to do it? Mental issues, you know, they're not maybe able, men are not able to come out and discuss their frustrations, their marital issues, their challenges, financial challenges, work issues. You might even find a man has lost his job, is not able to tell the spouse that this is the condition, but they will leave them in the morning well dressed in a very nice suit and still go out there and come back in the evening, maybe because then how do we lower our ego and say, this is the reality of the things, you know? Frustrations pile up. Pressure piles up, you know, and all this because of the responsibility of the man. But what is the solution? What is the way forward? The way forward is just that talk, that communication. That is mostly in relation to the couples that have related for the longest. Of course, relatives, friends, these are people that you know each other. An ex-husband coming and, you know, doing the least expected and killing. But let's go back to our generation. I am an ambassador of digital literacy. I advocate for digital. And you can see the government has worked through the Ministry of ICT to increase digital services in this country. From where we started when we came to government was about 300 services, and now we are almost at above 15,000 services. Okay, Airbnb, Abdi, is one of the platforms through digital,
Yes.
that you can be able to acquire services. Has Airbnb started yesterday? No, it's been there over 5 years. It's a business venture like any other venture, okay? But now, where we are, we should address as the issue as to why then our girls would be able to trust a stranger. And from that perspective, if I'm in their shoes, I would say, one is, you've met this person. This person is so nice. This person is so convinced. This person is so sweet. And you end up trusting because you're looking and seeking for what is natural, the love. There are things that I've said God gave us. And God gave us some of these things that we don't need to go to a shop and buy. It's not like bundles or airtime. Courtesy, love, being gentle, you know, those are things that are natural. So when you meet someone who seems and sounds to be courteous, sweet, gentle, it is attraction. It's a point of attraction. And like for the case of the young girl from Makueni, and may soul rest, and I know what the relatives must be going through. One thing that I noted is that she told the guardian or the parent that I'm going to meet a friend. Was that a problem? That is not a problem. That is okay, because the girl has been able to say, I'm going to meet someone. She didn't, of course, expect that it will end up like that. She didn't expect. She was maybe seeking and thought that, wow, this person who's been talking so nice, maybe I found the person that maybe God wanted me to be with for the rest of my life. But sadly, it comes that, of course, that is not what she expected. Of course, she was a student. She was studying. She knew probably what she wanted, I mean. And now, look at the other issue now, the rituals issues. And allow us to say it as it is. Because with the suspects that have been arrested, you look at even what the government pathologist, Dr. Duort, said. He said that he has never seen what he saw, because then this is something on another level. So it is a business, it's a cult with business. Let's go back again, Abdi. Allow me to say, the cultural issues that we are moving away from, the moral issues we are moving away from, you know. So this girl was innocent, trying to, you know, go get this, but back to the issue of the parents. Let us be able to be keenly discuss with our kids, both the boy child and the girl child. When you see them with a phone costing 100,000, where is it coming from? Let us sit and discuss, because wait, you are paying school, you are paying a semester, you are a parallel student, you are paying a semester, it's 80,000 or 100,000. As a parent, it's a challenge to pay. What about this commodity that this kid is having? Why are we not having this discussion?
Okay, Senator, we have to rope in Daktari as well. I can see she's itching to chime into the conversation, but let me get to introduce one of our final guests who have just joined us. That is Njeri Wamigwi. Hopefully I've said that correctly. The Chief Executive Officer of Usikimye. It is some of this activism and of course the civil societies which have been at the heart of some of these cases. They do receive some majority of these cases, similar to FIDE as well. But before I go to Njeri, let me go back to Daktari. Daktari, you can respond to the issues the Senator has also raised, but from the graphics that we have been able to play on the screen, you have seen this has been a recurring theme every year. What are we missing to do to curb such cases? Yes, Doctor.
Thank you very much. What is it that we are missing to curb such cases? Let me take ourselves to the judiciary. The judiciary saw that we were actually taking too long with some of these cases. And they went ahead. The Chief Justice went and opened GBV courts. And this is one avenue that is going to help us, so that the cases are dealt with within the shortest time possible. And that being the case, the perpetrators will change tact. So that is one of the areas. Now, what else are we missing? Public education. I think I like the NGOs because they will go out there and call it as it is, so that everybody gets to know this vice is in our society. It must be fought, and it must be fought by everyone. I'm not just saying it is NGOs. Even government itself, there are arms of government that should go out and fight. And one of those is actually NGEC. We have a mandate to deal with public education. Are we doing enough? We should go out and do enough. We educate our special interest groups. And one of those groups happens to be women. The other group happens to be the youth. And those are the two groups that have got issues when it comes to matters femicide. What else are we lacking? Proper statistics. I think our colleague from FIDA was saying still there is a lot not done. So we need to get out. The researchers in this country need to get out and get hard data on femicide.
Okay.
I'm looking at the University of Nairobi. They have a full arm where they are dealing with matters gender and women. We have Kenyatta University and many other universities. Are our researchers doing enough? And for those development partners who are supporting research, have we gone to these institutions so that the academia is roped in? I know we have a mandate to deal with research and collect data. And with a partner, Equality Now, we have come up with some system for GBV so that we collect the data and collate that data, and we be picking it from the hospitals, from the police, from any other arm of government. Now, this, as I talk to you, this is something that is going to be rolled out 2024, so that we are able to say it is reported, and what is reported, even if we miss out, the margin of error will be very small. So data, we need to deal with it. Let us not leave out our the world of academia. Let us educate our youth, both female and male, so that they know what we have in our constitution. But again, when I look at Senator, I'm asking myself, the legislation we have, is it adequate? And my answer is still no. Because even the Sexual Offences Act, we are in the process of bringing it back to Parliament so that it can be amended. So we also need to look at the gaps. And those gaps, we need to come up with legislation.
Okay, Daktari.
Thank you.
Now, let me get to introduce once more Njeri Wamigwi, the CEO of Usikimye. Given that you have heard from Daktari there from GEC, they're asking for research. And of course, you are one of those institutions that do receive numerous cases in regards to such incidences, even sexual gender-based violences, without disclosing their names or telling us their background or which county they come from. What are the nature of cases that you receive as an institution?
Majority of the cases we receive are domestic violence, rape, and so we will just conclude sexual violence, which involves both rape, defilement, molestation, and we receive a lot of that. We also have cases that have ended up being femicide cases. Last year we handled about 5 of those, and yeah. Mostly that. So domestic violence, intimate partner violence, sexual violence, which I have defined and where it falls under. Of course, we also, within that, we also receive cases that involve a lot of economic violence as well as psychological violence. Yeah.
And of course, the recent incidences that we have been witnessing on, you have just joined us. Give us your remarks on those incidences themselves.
First of all, both as a woman, as a Kenyan, and as somebody who works in gender-based violence, I'm in grief. I'm grieving because of the nature and the brutality of the cases that we have seen. Not just the 2 cases that the media has taken up and run away with, because I feel like also media sensationalizes a lot of the cases, because we know of 2 cases, yet within those 10 days, there were other 8 women. And we are not seeing their names. We haven't even captured some of their names. They're just unnamed women. Whereas the one that could, get the more clicks, the more views, are the ones that we are talking about. For me, I grieve for each and every woman who has been killed. And in the nature that they have all been killed, because you cannot be cooking ugali and somebody just beheads you. It talks into the brutality of the killing, which actually is a marker when we are talking about femicide. One of the markers of femicide when we're looking at both the sexual and the gender monitors is the brutality of the killing, as well as the disposing of the body, as well as the intimate, femicide cases. The reason they are femicide and not homicide, I'm sure my colleagues went and delved into that, is actually because there is sexual violence that is intimated as part of the killing. And that is what differentiates it from homicide. And as a nation, we should be grieving. We should be putting our flags at half-mast and speaking into where have we failed as a country, because I feel as a country we have failed. We should be declaring this a national disaster, because when a nation of people starts killing the other part, we as a country, when you look at our statistics, we are generally at an even number. So when one part of the nation is killing the other, what does that speak about us? Our culture as a people of Kenya, what does that say about us? How do we treat us? Because the women who have died are also part of us. Rita Waini should be here. She was a student. She should be in class studying like any other person. But what we have done is we have taken her death, brutalized her, victim blamed a child, because she's 20, she's a child. She was a university student, and defined her by the nature of her death. Without even knowing anything about her, we drew conclusions and ran away with them. What does that speak about our culture, even our internet culture? What does that speak when, as a nation, the comments that we are seeing are heavily misogynistic, very trolling, we are trolling, and I can't even imagine the grief I would feel if that is my child. I feel it, and I'm not even her parent, but as a person, when you come onto the internet and I write, rest in peace, Rita, and you come and you take away the humanity of the person who has died and instead say this person died because of money, without even counting how deeply hurtful and how I can't even imagine. I'm here to humanize the people.
Yes.
I'm here to make sure that even as we talk about these deaths, we are also humanizing the people who died. And I think that is one of the things that we have forgotten. We are looking at statistics rather than looking at the humanity behind the names of the people. The women, let me just be emphatic, the women that have died, because today we are talking about femicide. And the other thing that is very noticeable about this death is women have died. We are saying this is femicide, right? And the fact that, and unfortunately, this is a lot of men, and also a few women that I have seen, want to center this conversation and ask, what about men? That is not how things are supposed to happen. When we speak about femicide, we are speaking about issues of women. When we are speaking about other deaths that have happened and maybe include men, we are not going to center women in that conversation. It is not a gender war. We are talking about issues of women. It means right now the issues on the table are issues of women. It doesn't mean that men are excluded. It means men should come and join us in solidarity. When we say not all men, I actually heard you say that. Not all men. How do we know which men are supposed to be there when the voices of good men want to say not all men, instead of solidarity, joining us and saying, look, women are being killed as men. Can we speak? Can the voices of the good men drown the voices of the negative men? But we are not seeing that. We are seeing men who say, I'm a good man, so it's not me. Then we are not speaking to you when we speak about these issues. We need your voice to add on to us in solidarity and say we need accountability from men. So those are the kind of questions we should be having and discussions we should be having. I need to hear the voices of the good men. Where are the good men? Where are you? Not just saying not all men. We need you to say, as men, can we solidly stand behind our sisters so that we can ensure this doesn't happen again?
Okay. Let it be known, Abdiaziz Hashim is in solidarity with the initiatives that you're undertaking. Let that be on record. Let me head over to Senator as we wind up this particular conversation. Senator, Kewapa came out. Your fellow female colleagues from the National Assembly clearly stated to what Njeri is talking about, calling it for what it is, a national disaster. Yes. Should the government consider that?
Yes, I do agree that that is what it should be considered for. Because, Abdi, we agree that the femicide is us being killed. And I say us, because I'm a woman.
Yes.
That woman has been, who's now, his soul is resting. I'm a representation of them, and it is sad. And I want to add to what Madam has said in regards to it being seen like it's just us women. It is the high time, Abdi, and the other media stations, you bring the men on these panels. Ask them what is their view on this issue of femicide. Why have you not brought men to discuss this issue? Why only the female? Why us who are grieving? Actually, we are grieving. Actually, we are mourning. Actually, we are sad. Because as we speak each and every time, a woman is being harassed. A woman is being beaten. The other day, before we closed, we went for recess, I had a statement on the incidents on Thika Road, on that girl who was being mishandled by the conductor. And I'm still following up, and I'm happy because the COCS CPD Kasarani took action on it, and the case is ongoing. Because we see, and why is it that you have not given the men the opportunity for us to hear their views? Because majority of these cases are being castigated by men. We need, as female leaders, as women in general, to hear what they have to say. Is this an opinion that they have? Then they can be able to advise us. When you talk about this discussion, these talks, this message and all that, what is their take? Because we are not really much, we've not had them come out and tell us anything. Is there something that we are doing wrong that we need to do right? And when we go back to the issues of the domestic violence, as earlier discussed, before it gets to a murder situation, it starts by someone pointing a finger on you, by just someone even going silent on you.
Okay, Senator.
We need to say the truth and start saying, when you start seeing the signs, communicate, discuss. If it is not workable, men, if it is not working with us, just don't kill us. Go your way. Let me go my way. I will find a future. And you find, because one, we have a common denominator.
Okay, Senator.
Sometimes we have the children in place. What kind of children then are we bringing up as parents? Because if you kill me, if my husband kills me, then how do you expect about my son and my daughter to do? They will emulate the same. So it's the high time, if it is not working, we are saying, if it is not working, let us be. Let us be. And I want to talk to the young
Finally.
girls. Yes, I want to talk to the young girls, the age of 20. Yes, parents, this is the time that you need to see your kid dating. It is normal. Because if you're also not seeing them, then you're wondering which category do they belong to. It is normal for us to see them dating and going through. But young girls, kindly do an open dating. Let us also, as parents, be able to throw an eye from afar and be able to help you look around and see what kind of a person it is. And I say, the social media, post your people so that we tell you this one is somebody's person or can be your person.
Okay,
and
Senator.
it becomes open.
We're pressed for time. Let me go to Dennis. Dennis, your final remarks, given that we have to wind up this first session. Your final remarks on this issue.
Thank you so much, Abdiaziz. Sitting on the panel today, and the only male. The pressure has piled up all of a sudden.
You see, I had to voice my support for the initiative, but it is truly
I hope it is not disingenuous. And you
no, it's not
are
disingenuous because I have sisters as well.
It's very genuine.
Yeah.
I too take the same sentiments with Abdiaziz. I, Dennis Otieno, do stand in solidarity with women to fight against femicide. My closing remarks would be, it is very concerning, and I have had my fellow panelists also share this, that when such crimes are happening, the first instance is to victim blame. You write, rest in peace, the next comment, in fact, if you were even to highlight the comments, you would even cry. Is this person deserved it, this person was going after money, it's a gold digger, and you wonder, so we are looking for reasons to actually commit murder. Is that what we are saying as a community? Is that what we are saying as a society? That we've thoroughly eroded our culture, our moral principles, to the extent that we are not even respecting the dead anymore. We are justifying their death in the most gruesome of ways. And my closing remarks would be, From the standpoint of the Federation of Women Lawyers, this is what we battle every day. This is what we wake up to battle every day. The awareness creation that we do through our community sensitization forums are to essentially just educate the members of the public that we cannot incorporate a culture so toxic as this and feel that it is normal.
Okay.
That is why even protests are being planned, peaceful protests for that matter, to ensure that the general public is very aware that at the end of the day, we cannot actually sit somewhere and actually start saying that it is normal just because you feel where you're seated as a social media user that this person was doing something that was against your principles.
Okay.
And maybe in closing, I would say, there are victims out there who don't know where to voice, where to share, or where to even report.
Yes.
And we always have this toll-free line for FIDA Kenya. It's 0800 720 501.
Okay.
That anyone can reach any time, so that in case of such mishaps that are coming, that they are able to report and be safe. And perhaps in closing,
Finally,
as I am seeing the pressure,
yes,
I would say, as a man seated here, I may not know how many good men are out there or how many bad men are out there, but I would implore other men, let us stop this. On behalf of the good men, I would say kindly, let us stop this. Let us protect our women.
Okay. I will beg my director to just give me a minute for Jerry and Daktari there. Daktari, let's start with you. Final remarks, please.
Final remarks?
Yes.
Thank you very much for having us today. And I want to pick it from when we have disasters. If it was drought, I think the executive arm of government would be out there, every other minister, talking about it. When it was COVID, the same thing happened. When it was whatever disease, somebody talks. Now, we have a disaster. And the executive arm of government, I want to call upon them to come out and not just leave it to Aisha Juma. To all of us, let us fight gender-based violence in our own small way, but the executive arm of government, please pronounce yourselves.
Okay, Daktari, I want to be as fair as possible. Jerry, your closing remarks.
Most importantly, we have a march on the 27th.
Yes.
This march is against femicide, but this march is open to all genders. So please, can we see you on the Saturday the 27th at Jivanji Gardens? Let us speak about femicide. Let us not normalize killing. Let us not moralize killing. There is no reason why women should be killed. For that matter, saying you've been killed because you got money, everybody wants money. So the issue of money is very nonsensical as far as I'm concerned. There is no reason, there is no justification for murder of women. So let us end femicide. We are totally shutting down Kenya on Saturday, and we are marching for women and to stop this.
Thank you so much. And of course, it's not just Usikimi. Also, FIDA have issued their statement on similar peaceful procession on the 27th. Thank you so much. That has been my panel, as you can see on the right side of or left side of your screen, depending on where you're watching us from. That is Dr. Joyce M. Mutinda, the chairperson of the National Gender Equality Commission, which is in GEC. Also, we have Dennis Otieno, a senior legal counsel of FIDA Kenya, Senator Tabitha Mutinda, a legislative member of the Senate, and Jerry Wamwigwi, the Chief Executive Officer of Usikimia. That has been our first panel. Hopefully you have gotten something in terms of the root causes and what are the solutions. Some of these panelists you're seeing on the other side of the studio could be your fathers, could be your mothers, could be your sisters who are trying to at least advise you. And hopefully my sisters as well were watching this particular conversation, because right now, indeed, is what my panelists clearly stated. It is not safe for women, and hopefully this is something that can be changed. Of course, the clarion call has been on the government to, of course, talk about this particular issue from the national all the way to the judiciary and the legislature. That have been my first panel. The second panel will be consisting of Jules Delahaj, the CEO of SGA Security, Enoch Alumasi Makanga, and of course, he is the Managing Director, Victory Protective Services Africa. We do have an Airbnb representative, that is Amanda Kimani, the CEO of Lux Living. And finally, we do have Dr. Benjamin Koskei, a senior lecturer at the Kenyatta University, KU, and of course he'll be telling us about the psychological point of view. That will be my panel in the second hour, so don't go too far.
It's a cocktail of emotions, the puns that cracks up the family, greed that yields power, and a hunger for success. Trends turn to foes. Survival for the fittest is the drive.
Who are we blackmailing?
But nothing beats the feud in a family where one disappears and another fights for the crown.
It was not supposed to go this far.
It's the desire to succeed that keeps us going, the deception that keeps us digging, and the laughter pill that keeps us living.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is a news check. On today we're still discussing the issue of the alarming rates of femicide cases, and on the second hour we'll be talking about some of the measures that have been taken by the government, and if these representatives from the key sectors, especially from security firms as well as from the Airbnb, and finally we'll be having our psychological analyst for us this particular morning on this particular conversation. But before we go on with our conversation, I would like to take you live to the coastal city in the coastal town where prosecution of cases of the Shakahola massacre cases are ongoing, where all 95 suspects are currently appearing before the Mombasa law courts, and of course they will be charged with 238 counts of manslaughter, contrary to section 202 as read with section 205 of the Constitution. As you can see, my colleague, that is Junei Karisa, is already at the law courts. Junei, what more can you tell us about this ongoing Shakahola case?
Good morning. We are coming to you live from the Mombasa law courts this morning. Controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie, accompanied by 94 other suspects, will be arraigned here at the Mombasa law courts on account of manslaughter. They are being charged with 238 counts of manslaughter. Now, on Thursday, they will 35 or 36 of them will be heading to the Tononoka children, 39 suspects amongst the 95 suspects will be heading to the Tononoka children's courts, and there they will be answering to charges of torture against children, as well as several other accounts of assault, including bodily harm. These are 39 out of 95 suspects who will be answering to those charges. Now, this is a process that has really derailed due to several circumstances. This is a process that started way back last year in April. This is when the police and an ongoing alleged cult in Shakahola in Malindi constituency, Kilifi County. This is where intensive investigation was begun in that particular area, and from there they were able to exhume several bodies. Up until now, over 420 bodies have been exhumed and recovered from that place as investigation continues. Up until now, only 30 of the 400 over 400 bodies have been identified. DNA has tested positive of whom they are. According to those performing this DNA procedure, is that this is an expensive process, and also those people who have been able to submit their DNA samples are close to 200. Now, if you look at the statistics, both numbers and differentiate, there is a wide gap. So they have not been able to conclusively hasten the process due to the expense issues of the DNA procedure that is ongoing at the Malindi General Hospital. Also, over 400 bodies have been exhumed by Friday last week. It is an ongoing process. This is phase 7 of the exhumation process that is ongoing since the Shakahola massacre tragedy began in April last year. Now, today we are awaiting the arrival of the controversial preacher, Paul Mackenzie, who will be here accompanied by the 95 suspects. They will be answering to charges individually, pleading whether it is they're guilty or not. Since the phase 1 began of the exhumation, they have been in remand at the Shimolatewa prisons. That is where they have been laying low. They have been appearing before the Shanzu law courts, where they have been putting forth their requests on how they have been treated. Their lawyers have been arguing their cases. The DPP in turn has also been giving his submissions as to why they should stay in remand this long. So it's been 8-9 months for these suspects to remain in remand, and today is the day that they will be entering into a plea as to the charges that they will be read upon in before the magistrate court. So we are waiting the arrival. They are yet to arrive here at the Shanzu, at the Mombasa law courts here at the CBD. This is a process that will take a day long. According to the magistrate, it might spill over to the next day because these are 95 suspects, each individually answering to that account whether they're pleading guilty or not guilty. So it is a process that is going to be a lengthy one. Once they conclude, then they will give direction on what next after they have entered into plea. Will they be issued a bail? Will they be let go with a bail, or will they still remain? Those are the arguments that we're looking forward to hear from the DPP side and of course their lawyers as to how the case will proceed. But even after answering to these charges, on Thursday, we also have, they have to honor a debt with the Tononoka Children's Court to answer to the assault charges as well as other offenses against children, and they will also be entering a plea. It is a tedious process, 39 suspects also on Thursday. So it is a process that will derail, but of course at the end we will know the way forward, the conclusion of the verdict, the courts will pronounce themselves for us to understand the direction that this case will take. Again, it has been 9 months since these suspects have been taken into police custody. They have yet to be read for the charges. Today is the day that they are being read for their charges. From here, the court will pronounce the direction that this case will take, and we will be giving you live updates once those conclusions or the directions given by the magistrates are issued. And from here, then we'll know whether or not the controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie will still remain under police custody or will be let out on bail, or what directions the court will be giving out. However, on Thursday, he has to again appear before the Tononoka law courts and the children's courts so that they can answer to more charges. So we are here. At least this is a positive plea or direction for Mackenzie's side, because they have been staying in police custody for so long. In the months back, we had Paul Mackenzie himself pleading with the courts on lighter treatment because he was alleging that they are being given unfair treatment. The magistrate at the Shanzu law courts proceeded to ensure that they were being given rightful conditions to live by while they were being held in remand at the Shanzu prison, or the remand in Shanzu. So we are awaiting at the Shimolatewa remand. So we are waiting for their arrival for the case. It was supposed to start at 10:30, but we are still waiting. We are here the whole day just to pitch camp and understand the direction that this will take. We'll give you a more conclusive update once they arrive, or at the top of the hour at 1 o'clock on the direction that the case is taking. So, and of course on Thursday we'll be giving you those live proceedings. But as for now, allow me to hand it back to you in studio as we wait for the arrival of controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie, accompanied by 94 suspects who were taken into police custody over 9 months, 9 months since last year. So for now, I hand it back to you in studio. as we wait for that. Also, we have seen directions from the office of the DPP. They are trying their best because the investigation that is currently ongoing, it is a very tedious one. As media, we were let in that phase 1 investigation, and it was not a very pleasant one. It was a horrific experience. However, it gave way for the detectives and the investigators to unearth some of these bodies that were buried close to a year ago. According to the ideologies that Paul Mackenzie was preaching, he had announced that by August last year, they had announced that the world was ending. So he had commanded or shared or advised the congregants to fast to death until that. So from there now, it became a very controversial matter, and that is why we are here today. So we are awaiting for that, the arrival of Paul Mackenzie and 94 other suspects, and of course we'll give you a more conclusive update at the top of the hour. For now, I hand it back to you in studio.
Thank you so much. That is our reporter Junei Karisa reporting from the Mombasa Law Courts, where we do understand the controversial preacher, that is Paul Mackenzie, will be appearing before the Mombasa Law Courts, and of course we'll duly inform you in our subsequent bulletins. But this morning we are discussing the increase of femicide cases into the country. In the first hour, we were at least graced by Ngek Fida Usikimie and Senator Tabitha Mutinda on this particular matter to get to the bottom in terms of the root causes and what are the likelihood outcomes in terms of that. But also in the second hour, given that the government issued various directives to the various private security firms as well as to Airbnb representatives across the country, we're here to understand if they have implemented those measures and what other measures are they taking to ensure that this particular case is at least curbed. And of course, we also do have a senior lecturer from Kenyatta University. Let me get to introduce them now. We do have Jules Delahaj, the CEO of SGA Security. Mr. Jules, hopefully I've said that correctly.
Almost.
Almost.
Dulahe, but it's fine.
Okay. Welcome, and thank you for making time for us this morning. And of course, the lovely lady at the middle is Amanda Kimani, the Chief Executive Officer, the Lux Living. And finally, we do have Dr. Benjamin Koskei, a Senior Lecturer at the Kenyatta University. Daktari, thank you for making time for us. And I would like to start with you, Daktari, as my director prepares a footage for us in terms of course, it has elicited a mixed reaction, not just from the civil society, government and non-governmental institution, but also from the men and women in cloth have also castigated this particular issue. Let me start with you, Daktari. We have been witnessing especially these issues close to institutions such as the Jomo Kenyatta University, but yes, we have witnessed that has been happening. As an institution, have you put at least mechanisms before we get to the psychological part of it?
Thank you, Abdiaziz, for the invite to talk about this menace.
Yes.
You have asked a very good question. And before I answer that,
okay,
I want to pass a condolence to the family of Bridget Amondi,
yes,
who was killed yesterday in Kisumu. She was a teacher in Obolo Secondary School, and she was killed by her husband. So what we are discussing today is real issue and real time. To answer your question, as the universities or as the University of Kenyatta, we have put in place a mechanism on how to deal with this. Number one is guidance and counseling. We have a directorate of wellness in place to deal with issues of gender-based violence. And we have a fully fledged directorate to deal with that. This directorate deals with various issues in guiding and counseling of these students, in actually monitoring their progress, in knowing and even receiving reports from various schools and various students. Again, we have partnered with the student council. We have peer counselors in school. So we have done some work in terms of seeing that we work on the gender-based violence.
Yes.
Thank you, Abdul.
Okay, and let me head over now to Amanda. Amanda, as you respond to these unfortunate incidences that we have been witnessing in the country, this is not the first time. Institutions such as yourself that you're leading an Airbnb, unfortunately has been caught in crosshairs when it comes to these particular incidences, and the government has issued various directives like putting in CCTVs in the correct areas. Have you started by abiding with those measures, and what other measures perhaps have you undertaken?
Okay, thank you so much for welcoming me here today. And I'll say sorry to all the families that have been caught up in this menace. First of all, yes, we are adhering to what the government has put across. And we're also hoping for the government also to welcome us so that we can also share the ways that we feel it's secure for our clients and it's secure for everyone who is going to be using our Airbnb. We wish to have those kind of conversations. We have started looking at conversations with the Peer Accommodation Society of Kenya. There is one more, VACEC, and we are all coming together to also find a directive where, as hosts, we make sure that our clients feel safe around our homes. It's something that it's not complete. We are also caught up in this, and we are trying to find best ways that we can actually cure this. It may not be 100%, but in progress. Yes.
Now, Mr. Jules, similar question. Given that you're in the security sector, you have been there for a number of years. Are you abiding by the measures that have been recently released by the government? And what are your thoughts on this ongoing incidences that we have been witnessing in the country for the better part of this month?
Yes, for sure. And let me also send my condolences to all the victims, families, and parties, relatives, friends, etc. It's very sad, and particularly I would like to stress that no victim deserves to die. You know, that should be very clear. And I would like to stand up, given what was said in the earlier setting. Yes. Men should stand up and not just shy away from the discussion. And I think one of the reasons why I'm here, because it is a much bigger problem. It's not only related to Airbnb. And I think we should look at it in a broader perspective and not try not to generalize too much. The way we see it, and I don't want to go into details of each of the cases because there are differences, etc. But there seems to be a pattern. One is a pattern is actually two major categories. The crimes that are, let's say, dealt with in either the home area or people that know each other. So that's one category. And there is a category where people don't know each other. And I think it's good to understand this because talking about the measurements that you were referring to, PSRA, the regulator, has issued quite clear rules. And we are actually doing much more than those rules only. It's not only about CCTV cameras, you can do the access controls, but I would like to zoom in a bit in those categories. If you are in a home environment, then of course it's very difficult to enforce IDs, CCTV cameras, etc. That's quite obvious, and I think there it's very important to create that awareness. You know, the neighbors, your environment. If you are alert and you are working on that, if you notice there is something ongoing, please raise the flag. Don't shy away. Address these things. Deal with those things. If you go to the, let's say, other category, where quite often those are criminals, but if you look at the nature of the killings, we can quite generally say and state that either the people have a problem, mind sick, or the circumstances have run them into a situation where they don't know what they are doing anymore. But if you look at it and you zoom in, yes, there are rules, and these rules exist already. If you engage, for instance, with a private security company, then that company has to be licensed and it needs to meet certain standards. So that's one of the things that I would definitely want everybody to look at. Another thing is so that aspects of, and there is quite a big variety of security and security, so really make that distinction. Another part that I would like to stress is particular in those settings, those are criminals, quite well organized. They, besides the fact that they're after the money, the killings, and there is particular to women, I think, because they feel is vulnerable and maybe easy targets. So there's much more than only this aspect. And I would say another aspect that, apart from all the security measurements that everybody should take into account, also be alert. If you are the woman or even another person, be alert in your environment. One critical part that I noticed throughout quite is the use of alcohol and drugs. You can put all the measurements into account, but if you're drugged or if you have used too much alcohol, you're not aware anymore on your environment. And I think those are things you should be alert. So never, if you don't know a person and you are drinking something, never shy away from your glass. Make sure you, as much as you can, that you are not drugged or that you don't use too much alcohol, because that is a critical aspect, I think, to start with.
And as we continue with our conversation, I would like to play you a sound clip where the men of cloth and women in cloth as well condemned these particular incidences that have been witnessed in the country, not just the two young ladies, but there are other unreported cases. Let's get to hear from Jackson Olesepit and many other religious leaders in the country.
We call for tough measures that they will never return to society. We call for life imprisonment and any other tough measure, so that these people are never let out to mingle with our children.
Mtu anachukua msichana yenyewe kwa hizo vyumba na kumuua, hiyo inaitwa premeditated murder. Hiyo mtu should be charged with first-degree murder.
We also call him making an appeal to our government that yes, we know you are taking care of us, but we need to increase, and we appreciate even the guidelines that have been put to these lodgings and the other places like Airbnb. Let us also are landlords of these places, because people will still visit.
And let me go to Amanda now. Given that you've even heard from the men of cloth talking about Airbnb, just brief us as Kenyans. We want to know how Airbnb works. And of course, you've just heard from Jules, from the security side of it all, in terms of implementing some of these guidelines and some of the changes and what you have put in place. What have you also ensured to address this particular menace? Because these things happen closer to home. It is somebody you know. These are partners, boyfriends, husbands, and former partners that you may have interacted. How do you try and weigh between that and allowing people into your various homes?
Okay. First of all, it's so unfortunate that these incidents are happening with people, most of them are happening with people that are close to us. And I do not understand at what point that ladies, not about Airbnb only, about the women involved and the men involved, they know how to draw the line. These are people they spend the rest of most of their time with, some the rest of their time with, and we do not understand at what point they decide to do these kind of things. For Airbnb, it has just been abused as a place where people want to do crime and not be caught. It's just that we appreciate that the government is also trying to do something about getting these people and actually making them pay for what they have done. But I want every person, not just the Airbnb, happening in other places. We had 152 cases of femicides, and we did not hear any from Airbnbs. They may have happened, but we need to understand as ladies and as young women where to draw the line, how to be aware of our surroundings. About Airbnb and how it runs, we run our Airbnb in a more corporate level, other than the people who just do this for business. They open a house because they need money and to pay a few things here and there. Running from a corporate level, it's a bit different, and we go through cases, but not as extreme as this, because we do take details of each and all of our clients, and we make sure we did not implement CCTV before the government directives because of our clients' privacy. But there was emergency contact. If you needed anything, you will call us. And even if most of our clients are also coming from other parts of the world, so they can call us if they need the best restaurants to eat from, the best. So we had a contact line where it's emergency, and you can also inquire anything you need, and where we recommend to you the best places to visit, shop, and things like that. And for people who are running this, especially on day-to-day basis, it's becoming very hard to track, because we have 30 days in a month. And what if you have 30 clients in the same month if you're doing on daily business? I'm sure this should be implemented, especially in the properties that we run these Airbnbs, because it's going to be so hard to implement security on a particular house because it's running an Airbnb. That means the security of the residents is not there. So we have to implement these security measures in this building, so that if you get into an apartment and it has 26 units, the people at the security, the guests, should know where you're going, should take your details. If you got there with your car, let them get your car details. If you go there with, who are you going to? Who are you going to visit? Is it a family member? Is it official? Are you dropping something? Even if it's an Uber drive that has brought you food, we should get those records, because if anything gets to happen in between the 30 minutes, the 20 minutes, the 10 minutes that delivery was done, we'll need to hold someone accountable. So it should not just be in the Airbnbs. All the properties that allow the Airbnb business, the commercial business in the apartments, they should take caution. They should make sure they have proper security system from the gate, not just at the door of the Airbnb house. Yes.
Okay. Let me hand it over to Daktari. Daktari, we're talking about another issue that has been touted as one of the contributing factors to such incidences we're witnessing, like, for example, peer pressure, especially among students. Given that you come from this vast institution called Kenyatta University, how do you go about lecturing some of these students and trying to give them advice so that they do not find themselves in a precarious situation such as this one?
Thank you, Abdiaziz. As I said earlier, that we have a Directorate of Wellness that deals with these issues. And again, I say that we are in, the Directorate is in conjunction with the peer, the Student Council, where we have the peer counselors that assist these students in assisting, in training them on how to avoid such traps. As we teach also in the university, we do offer guidance and counseling in class. We do talk to our students that these are don'ts and do's. We also have rules that govern the students in our universities. Apart from that, we have mentorship programs whereby we have lecturers mentoring some students. So as you say that there is peer pressure, it is true. The issue again of the mental issue is at play here. The psychological issues comes in. For example, romantic jealousy comes in, whereby a girl is having a boyfriend, and then all of a sudden changes the boyfriend. So the earlier or the first boyfriend undergoes what we call romantic jealousy, and now project the same to the girl. So the girl ends up being killed by the first boyfriend because of what we call romantic jealousy. And that has been cited by research as the main cause of femicide: romantic jealousy and infidelity. And what we normally encourage our students is that they should stick to one partner. We may not resist them, we may not refuse them to have partners, but we normally encourage them to stick to one partner. So romantic jealousy here comes in. And you remember the case in Eldoret whereby a boy killed a student in Moi University. That was a romantic jealousy. Another thing is that we normally encourage our girls or our in the university to, let me say, to be contented with what they have in terms of pocket money or money. Because most of them go outside the university and do other things that they may be able to get money. That is sponsors. And they end up in Airbnb, as Madam has said here. And in case of anything, men normally take advantage of that. So, we normally encourage them to be contented with what they have. Also for men, we normally encourage them to have one partner as the second priority. But the first priority is to major in studies. Other things will come later. We need also to have our politician engaging in public education, whereby they can teach people in their public barassas on this issue of femicide, so that they don't just wait until this happens and then they come out and condemn. We need to come out. And the last one is that we need to avoid trivializing the issue. In this sense, when a lady is killed, people trivialize and say that amekula fair. She has eaten fair. And when a man is killed, they say he succumbed on the line of duty. So we need to trivialize those things and really condemn the femicide and the issue.
Let me go to Jules. Jules, given that it is a very precarious situation, you've just clearly stated that this happens close to home. And of course, the members under your firm, the members who work in that particular establishment, how do they, it's like a dilemma. You can't stop somebody's boyfriend, husband, or a family member from visiting them. How do you go about it now?
Yeah, there's a few things that I would like to add to that. Also coming back to what was said earlier in the Airbnb, there's quite a big misunderstanding that if you are, for instance, in a big, if you are living in a big apartment complex and you think there's one guard at the gate, now everybody in that compound is safe. It can't be like that. That's one thing. And I do agree, CCTV and a proper ID, etc., it's going to help, because if you have the feeling you're watched or monitored, then at least you think twice. At least that's what we hope. But think about, indeed, now in this big complex there is an apartment building, there is an apartment, a specific apartment. So how should you be able to protect yourself there? And just recently, actually, we introduced home security systems that are wireless. Actually, it's your phone, your smartphone is helping you. There is a panic button on your phone, which will help, of course, in case you feel within a certain environment, you feel already threatened or things go out of hand. At least you have another opportunity to use that. But coming back to your other question is, yes, if our guards are in a very specific assignment, and indeed within the family there is a fight. First of all, we have trained our guards to raise this. They are in contact with the company, so they would for sure communicate with our control room and try to monitor as far as you can what's going on. Is it just shouting to each other, or is it something becoming more violent? At the moment it becomes more violent, then for sure the alarm will go off, and we will come, and usually if it's an alarm and response service, we have police on board, so we would bring immediately police to the place and address this. But quite often, if it's within the families, something is going on for longer, and that's where we want our guards to be very alert on this and to raise that. And indeed, we had situations where, our guards became between the husband and the wife, and usually, indeed, the first reaction is to protect the wife, the woman, either by sending the husband away, or at least make sure that there is a moment, a break, that they don't, are able to physically even meet at that point in time. But those are very complicated issues indeed, because indeed, who is the client? It's the family is the client, and you have to protect the family, and if need be, against each other. But it's quite tough. But also there, particularly in the home situations, if you have a proper home security installation with CCTV, with alarm buttons, if need be, you can use it very fast, very quickly. Again, it's not a guarantee, because in the home environment it is even more tough. But for sure, it's better than just doing nothing. And I think that is what's happening today too much. We're shying away. We're not tackling it. And indeed, it's not only Airbnb; it's throughout. And I think awareness is the biggest issue. Is don't take it light. If you feel an aggressive situation occurs, that's the moment to raise all the flags, because you don't know. And unfortunately, some of the situations are, oh, he was such a lovely and such a friendly man. That's not the criteria, It's and I think it's very difficult, but women should also be protected, but also be alert. Violence within the family is not normal. It's really not normal. And I know there are many different aspects to this, but I would definitely want to make that clear and stand up for that.
And of course, Amanda, given that you're also a young woman, as much as you're an entrepreneur at the end of the day, according to a UN report, 38.5% of girls and women aged between 15 to 49 in Kenya have experienced physical violence. And of course, you've just talked about an incident that you had witnessed. If you could tell us, without even disclosing the name or the date or where it happened, you have seen it. So how did you handle that particular situation? And as well as in terms of creating creating awareness? We've just heard from Mr. Jules and Daktari. They're talking about creation of awareness. So how do you, as an Airbnb representative, create that particular awareness? And then finally, do you have mechanisms that are put in place, especially where if I come to your Airbnb today, I can leave an emergency contact so that you can get in touch to a family member or any other person?
Okay. The kind of incidents we get from the corporate level, it's people not being able to pay for their stay, people not being able to meet their deadlines. They're supposed to leave by fast and they decide to extend and they speak late. Those are the kind of things we face. Who they bring to the house, normally it's not. We get the records, yes, but we do not get into. But we have not experienced violence to the extent of what we're seeing right now. And I think also because we have taken our business corporate and we do mostly long term, that means 30-day minimum, so it keeps a lot of mediocres away. And our company deals mostly with corporate hosting, where we provide for you a office space so that you can do your work, because we're looking at from when the Airbnb was started in 2008, it has changed from air, mattress and breakfast to people choosing their niche on what they want to do. And when you look at Airbnb, and the settings of Airbnb was to better family movements. It's just that people are misusing it at this moment because it has everything your home has, so it's supposed to enable you to be able to move without the hassle of thinking, oh, I'll be in a hotel and not be able to cater for 3 people, especially lunch every day, supper every day. So it's to better family movement. And people misusing this to do this kind of work, I feel like we should stop, especially the media, focusing on this kind of disturbing images. And we want to hear from police, the people at the DCI. We want these people interrogated to know what are they going through psychologically, because yes, we need to give awareness outside there, but what kind of awareness are you giving if you do not know what kind of people to warn our girls against? Because if we have a pattern of all the serial killers that have been there, and we know these are the 5 major things these people go through, then when you go out there, I tell a lady, do not be in the same room with a guy showing these kind of signs. The people who call you 100 times and they'll not stop until you pick, you do not even dare. We want facts because we want to raise awareness, but we can't raise from blanks. We want to hear from facts. So you've done this investigation. 80 to 100% are going through this kind of mental disturbance. These people are showing signs of this kind of disability in their mind. We want to be able to go outside there and call girls and tell them this is what is happening. So do not accept this and that from experience and from facts. Because we can go there and tell girls, you know, we are fighting against gender violence, but gender violence is gender violence until it happens to you, because most of these people are lovers, and sometimes people cannot differentiate when they're being violently manipulated, especially in relationships. I will wish people in those sectors of relationship counselors and those students, and we can also, I remember when we were doing school and when we were doing secondary, the biggest motivation was, if you do not study hard, you cannot go to UON, the biggest universities. How about we normalize showing these people at the universities that there are opportunities out here? How about companies showing that we will employ you as an, instead of, because these people are looking for money, yes, but what do they die and living? Bags, clothes, things that do not even help their families. We want the government to create opportunities, because that's the biggest motivation for university students to actually be out there. I've studied this because we want this to be, especially in awareness in university, like Daktari has said, when you're motivating them about partners, can we hear this conversation of, in this kind of cause, you'll be hired by the best companies and we'll make this possible if you study, if you get your good grades. We want to hear this kind of conversation because those are the biggest motivation for especially young girls and boys.
Okay, Amanda, let me go to Daktari now. Daktari, as you respond to those issues that have been raised by Mr. Jules and Amanda as well, we're also talking about our curriculum. Has our curriculum addressed such kind of issues so that it can better prepare not just the women who are studying in these various institutions, but also the men?
Thank you, Abdiaziz. Let me just start by correcting Madam Kimani here. That UN is not the biggest university. It is Kenyatta University. The current CBC or the current curriculum is going to address some of these issues because there is the education, the sexual education. So it will come in handy in addressing the same. And in actually, from childhood, children will be taught on how to see other genders, the issues of gender stereotype, to see other genders as equal being. Another thing is that we should be able to create awareness, proper communication in the families. The husband and wife should have proper communication. And I want to say this, that there is this thing, we need to avoid this. In marriage, we are one. But in terms of phones, we are two. So I want to appeal to all Kenyans. Simu ya mama, ikuwe ya mama. Simu ya baba, ikuwe ya baba. Because this is the main cause of this femicide. Because the moment you see a message from somebody and then talking about honey, I remember one day, let me say this, Abdiaziz, that there is a guy who normally brings me honey from Baringo. One day he wrote to me that the honey for this week will be so sweet. So when my wife saw that honey for this week will be so sweet, and then she could not even imagine. And when I tried to explain that this is the real honey, hasali inatoka Baringo, ilikuwa vita. So if we can be able to avoid this, the better. Number two, proper vetting of upcoming religious institutions. As a counselor
yourself, what do you do in that situation? Do you counsel the wife and counsel yourself?
In that situation, I had to walk away.
Yes.
And that is the best thing. Because if we confront one another, if I argue, and our position is that this is the real honey, this is a wife, and then it will become chaos. So the best for a man is to walk away. Go for a walk. Go for 2 days. You can go and greet your grandmother, so that things will cool down. The other point is that we need to overcome hiding and counseling in church, in various institutions, even new media people. You need to bring out a program of guiding and counseling, and bring out champions of non-gender violence, on how people were able to deal with gender-based violence. Don't bring survivors. Let's bring champions who did not engage in violence. Let's listen from them. The last one is raising voices from various institutions, like FIDA. We need them to raise voices, like KEOPA, Kenya Parliamentary Women Association. Let them raise voices. Let them educate people. And the last one is we need to empower our women. We need to empower our women and our girls. Let the girls stay in school. Let the women be empowered economically. Let's give cash support to our women. And the last one, we need to include women in decision making. We need to include our women in decision making. Thank you.
And of course, as we're entering the final leg of our discussions, let me start with Mr. Jules. As you also wind up in your final remarks, I'll just give you each 2 minutes at least to finalize on this particular matter. What should we expect as a country, given that we have seen even the hashtag that is currently trending online is for these cases to even be considered as a national disaster? And given that your expertise in the security sector, would you consider this as a security lapse?
Yes, thank you. I think what you're doing, even with today's shows, but there's a lot of publicity in the media, which I think is very good, because that is going to help. We should have these discussions. We should catch up. Indeed, in the security industry, look at the certified companies, be very keen on that, because that's what we stand for. For instance, at SGA, we are ISO 18788 certified. That is not about high-end security only, but it's also about human rights. The society, the communities is much broader than putting a person at the gate or an alarm system itself. It's much broader than that, and I think that is absolutely what we need to look at. It's not an individual issue, it's not a security company issue, it's not an Airbnb issue, it's not a university issue, something we need to address all together. And I strongly believe that if we catch up, if we continue these discussions, we engage, and as the previous panel said, it's not a women's issue, it's not a ladies' issue or a youngster issue, it's a society issue, the community. We all have to take our responsibility, first of all, by accepting what's going on as a fact, not accepting the results of it, but this is what's going on. Let's deal with it, let's not shy away, let's put it on the table, tackle these issues, and do from each of the angles what we can to promote and to create that awareness. But above all, one comment on the Airbnb. I think you could create more awareness in terms of the security environment of a certain place. Because if I go to a hotel, the hotel takes care of the security environment in that place. And I think Airbnb could, for instance, on the website, make a connotation, this place is secured by a certified security company, for instance. That is a tip that I would like to give.
Okay, thank you so much. Amanda, your final remarks, kindly keep it short.
Okay, thank you. We will definitely try our best. And I wish to just say, as we're empowering our girls, let's also empower our boys. Let them know they can handle their emotions as we're empowering, because I feel like also women, we have been over-empowered, and our men feel inferior in a way. So as we empower our ladies on how to take cautions, awareness, let's also empower our boys and men how to deal with the emotions, how to deal with things that disturb them. They do not have to put it on other people, on the next person. And as we're closing, it's Airbnb is a business like any other, but I will urge my fellow hosts that we try to run this from a professional level, where it's not just the money. We need to make sure security of the people we're hosting is key. So let's just come together and decide, this is what we are doing. Yes, we are going to implement all the directives that we have been given, but it doesn't end there. We need them to know that our clients are, yes, you'll be watched, but what are we doing with this CCTV footage? Let also our clients understand that this is not going to be displayed anywhere. It's for security purposes only.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Daktari, we run the risk of being run out of air. Kindly keep it short.
Thank you so much, Abdiaziz. And thank you for the opportunity to come and discuss this topic. The last one is that family is the basic unit of our society. Let's have family meetings. If we can be able to train our children, our boys and girls, on contemporary issues as a family, it will come to the society and then the community and then Kenya. So let's have family meetings and let's talk about gender-based violence. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That is Dr. Benjamin Koskei, a senior lecturer at the Kenyatta University. Thank you so much, Doc, for making time for us. Also, Amanda Kimani, the Chief Executive Officer, who is the CEO of Lux Living, an ABNB representative. Thank you for making time for us. And finally, our senior Jules Delahaji, the Chief Executive Officer of SGA Security. Those are the measures that have been put in place by these key stakeholders from institutions, security firms, as well as ABNBs, which are being represented by Amanda here and other ABNBs representatives out there. Those are the measures that were given by the government. And of course, given that we have come to the end of our show this particular morning, I want to hand it over back to my colleague, who is Khalid, who will be joining you in just a few in Kurunzi. But I want to take you live to the Kenyatta International Convention Center. You do know about the Affordable Housing Project. In Article 188 of the Constitution mandates and obligates the Parliament to facilitate a public participation and involvement in its legislative business. In line with this, the National Assembly of Housing Committee is currently holding public hearings on the Housing Bill of 2023 at the Kenyatta International Convention Center. Those are live images. Kenyans are voicing their concerns and raising their pertinent issues in regards to the Affordable Housing Project. And of course, a similar initiative that is being carried out by the Molo Member of Parliament, Kimani Kuria, who is the Finance Chair of the Departmental Committee of the National Assembly, are also carrying out similar initiatives in various parts of the country. Those are the images I'm leaving you with. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim. I would like to hand you over to my colleague Khalid for Kurunzi. Good morning for now.
The memo that touches on the qualifications of people to be appointed and all that, so the details are there. But let me just highlight a few, two more that are important for you to be able to appreciate. I think the rest of the memoranda. Let me just highlight something that the chair to. The other thing, Chair, that I want you to look at and the committee to consider is on the custody of the common seal of the board. We have other details. It should be with the corporation secretary. We can't have the seal being given to any person. I mean, you will have documents with the seal. The board has no clue where these documents are coming from. And lastly is on the eligibility, and which touches on what has been spoken here, Chair. Can we make it a principle that one ID, one affordable housing unit, just as a principle, so that we don't get into the challenge we are seeing. The second thing we need to do, can we also make it as a principle that only people who are paying to the affordable housing levy are eligible, so that those people who are not paying, and Chair, we have given a proposal, because we are saying everybody is going to pay, those people who are not paying, let them be identified under the vulnerable or indigent because they cannot afford, and let them, when now the appropriation in Parliament is happening through the budget, let money be given to support the fund to ensure that they are taken care of. And lastly, Chair, we request that you look at, we have the details, but lastly, we request that you look at another very important thing, that 6C. That 6C introduces a very strange terminology called affordable market housing unit. That means we want to support people with affordable housing, but then we want to take them back to the market, which has had the failures we are trying to correct. Can we try to see where do we want really this fund to be? And the affordable, in the definition, Chair, we have submitted that let it be a house that can be acquired through rent or acquisition equivalent to 15% of the basic salary or the basic income. The reason why we are insisting is because of two things. One, in the employment law, 15% is what is equivalent to the allowance for the reasonable accommodation. And then two, gross income is an animal that is very hard to define. Because what it means, if you are sending your employee to go to a place and you give him 2,000, then you have to get money from that 2,000. Let's have a stable measure for us to be able to use. Thank you, Chair. We have the details that in the memorandum. We'll really be happy to appreciate, and we'll be happy to come for us to be able to have more dialogue, perhaps or in the next sitting if we are allowed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your to present the memorandum. Mildred.
God is good, and all the time. Me, I'm a happy beneficiary of Bomayangu Affordable Housing Project. My name is Mildred Duvega, na niko Park Road. Niko hapa Park Road, hizo nyumba zilikuwa za kwanza. Na mimi mwenyewe nilikuwa naishi Kibera, lakini nashukuru serikali kwa kuleta hizo nyumba, kwa sababu sikujua hata kwa maisha yangu naweza kuwa na nyumba. Nilikuwa na save kidogo. Kama venye wa mama tuko kwa chama, ukipata pesa za chama narusha huko mpaka nikafikisha hiyo 12.5% ambayo ni 3 bedroom lakini ya 60 square per meter. Na nikajaza all the requirements kwa boma yangu website. Unafaa uende hapo ujaze all the requirements zenye zinahitajika. So nafurahia kabisa, nimesikia venye wamama wanasema watoto kutembea, hiyo insecurity penye niko na support hii project kabisa, kwa sababu security iko sawa. Tuko na wall, tumefungiwa ndani, askari wako,